I ran out of red ink, and so I am now having to use this very dusty bottle of calligraphy red ink, which I know for a fact doesn't like to stick to models, but I'm going to use it anyway. That's because this week's model is Jin Kazama from Tekken, and he has a whole load of these magical things which need to be read. This is where I would normally have an intro, but apparently YouTube says that people don't care who you are and you should just get straight into the drama of your video. It's model painting, so this is the drama. You may be asking, why do you say this doesn't stick so well? That I don't know why it doesn't stick so well. I just know that this sticks very well and that doesn't stick so much. But what I'm going to use is some of this glaze from Hey Gears, which is, I'm pretty sure, literally just a UV clear resin, which I need to cure after I painted it. But obviously I need to paint all of these magical things first and then cure it, and then I'm halfway done with the model, kind of. Now all of the parts are already prepared for this model, so of course I'm not going to put you through sanding hell like I've already done. So all we're going to do is get that done and then move over to putting a primer on these bits. Now, I genuinely cannot think of any way to really truly hook people like they're saying I'm supposed to for an intro of my video, and so that's the way that I've decided to hook you. If you're not hooked by that, well then, I really don't know what to do. But what I can actually tell you is, this video was sponsored by Tanuki Figures, and the way that they cut their things is to make it easier for you to print in your printer. If you have a medium-sized printer, of course, or even a smaller one, they have cut these little legs out. So I need to glue these together just to make it easier to paint. And I'm going to use just super glue for that, because it's super and it's glue. And I would also normally tell you now at this point about who the sponsor of the video is, because these people create the models of which we would like to be making at the end of the day, and so I'll have to tell you about that a little bit later in the video, since apparently that's possibly hurting my chances of videos being viewed by people. This is all bullshit, and the YouTube's algorithm can suck the farts right out of my hole. So for now, let's just get into the painting of this model, and of course, we've got some slightly difficult things to do, starting out with the pants, of course. There is this gradient on the leg, and now this wouldn't be difficult if you were the kind of person who likes to use masking tape and putties and all those kind of things, but I don't. So this might be a little bit difficult. However, I'm going to show you that it doesn't have to be as hard as you think it is. But we've obviously got to do a whole lot of setting up before we get there. For the skin tones, I'm obviously going to lay down the usual pinkle, and I'm also going to put some red in the undertones. I hope that you are noticing that I am changing every single damn angle as much as possible. We're using fast footage, slow footage, angle footage, different angle footage. We're even going to use some handy dandy camera footage. Honestly, I'm trying absolutely everything at this point, but YouTube is holding me back. There's no other way to say this, and at some point I am going to make a video on this because I think people need to know how this works. But basically, I'm just being not shown to anybody anymore. YouTube's decided who they think is going to see my videos and enjoy them, and that's the only people it's showing it to, which means I am not able to reach out to new people. And that's what that experimental week was to figure out what it is that was lacking and missing from the videos. And actually what we figured out was that no matter what we do, YouTube is the one that is stopping the videos from getting out to many people, because YouTube is not showing it to as many people as it used to on those first 24 hours. Let's not get too deep into it, but I want to talk about this really difficult thing that's actually really not difficult at all. On the leg of this Jin dude, he has got a really cool gradient of fire on his jean pant. And this fire needs to be going from yellow to red. And I don't know if you know this, but if you try to shade these two together, you're going to have a bit of a weird, ugly line. And I'm going to show you this, exactly this, very soon, as you can clearly see here by my wet blending. Now, this is not me just being an absolute idiot and not knowing what I'm doing. This is exactly part of the process, and I want you to see that it takes a little bit of ugliness to become betterness, basically. So what I'm doing here is I'm blending from yellow to the red with a wet blend. It is a harsh, very harsh transition. It's not perfect, as you can clearly see by the images on your screen, and I'm just painting off the ends of each of those pieces one by one. Basically, I'm painting the rest of the yellow finished and then the rest of the red finished too. This is to set up, because what I'm going to do in order to create that blend is I'm just literally going to spray some orange over that blended area. And this is the orange I'm using, which is also a contrast paint, and really it could be any paint. It's just what I had, easy to go through the airbrush, it flows nicely, blah de blah. But you can clearly see how that little blend of orange through the middle has created a beautiful transition from that yellow all the way up to that nice bright red with a nice lovely orange in between. And that's it, the leg's done. That difficult thing that I was thinking might be a bit, it's not that hard, easy peasy. Now I'm going to quickly do something else easy, and that's movie magic. Look, I didn't even have to do anything, and there was paint suddenly on a model. It's not like that in real life, but I can make it appear like that in my videos, of course. Now I'm going to use that same yellow that I painted that bow of his belt, the cool karate belt thing. I'm using that same yellow. I painted it onto his belt, of course, because it's all part of one thing. And then leaving all that stuff to dry before I come back to it, I'm going to quickly set up my base, because I'm going to paint this with just a simple grey dry brushing. So to set it up, I'm going to spray a brown into the crevasses on the base. This is going to read as dirt or dust later on, but for now I can now move my way back onto the belt. And of course the belt has got a very thin black line around the center of it, but also equally it's on the outside of it, the whole way around the outside. It was very annoying to actually paint this, because obviously I'm painting on the top of yellow, and any mistakes are going to need to be rectified. Just by the way, to rectify it, paint down a little bit of deck tan over the top of the mistake, and then just repaint the yellow again, and Bob is in fact going to be your uncle. Now for the base, all I'm going to do is dry brush a greeny grey colour over the top of the entire base. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to take a slightly purplish colour. It's not really purple, but technically it's got a bit of purple in it. And it's also a grey, but I'm going to take that and I'm going to slap that over the top of everything else. You see how it says lavender grey? Lavender is a kind of purple, I think. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I dry brush that over the top of everything. This is my final coat. No deck tan for corners. That's it. I'm going to experiment with keeping this quite dark and see how that affects the overall effect of the model later on. But I think it worked out pretty well. Obviously, now that I've done the base, I can start slapping in all these little fiery effects that do fit on the base themselves. And then I can put my attention to the extra little pieces that are on the base. And for these, there is no brown first. All I'm doing is dry brushing the same two colors, but I am adjusting the ratio of these colors. If you take note, the little round ball thing, I had clearly painted that red first. It was transparent color. Well, the transparent kind of color, it was just transparent resin, and then I painted it red, just like the other magical stuff, and then I dry brushed over the top of that, leaving that red in the little crevasses, making it look like there is red in the crevasses, I guess. There's no other way to explain it. Now moving on to the skin tones, I'm just going to slap a load of skin tones in consecutive order. These are going to be slightly darker skin tone, slightly less darker, a little bit more mid-tone skin tone, and then a slightly mid-tone, which is this flat one. These are all the highlights, basically all the highlights. And as I'm doing this, because he is a superbly muscular man, it is going to give me a load of shadows underneath all of those muscles. Equally, it's going to desaturate everything, so a little bit of orcish dermis goes a long way in this situation. Now I can take some basic skin tone and highlight certain areas, like for example on the forehead, and equally the little top portions of his muscles, because this makes it look like there is light upon his body. I also felt like this was way too light, the entire skin tone in total, so I put a glaze of Guilliman flesh, mostly from the bottom, over the entire model as well. And you may be wondering, why didn't I show you the feet, the hands? Well, it's because they're small and it just takes long, and I did the exact same thing that I did with the torso. So just imagine that, but with a friggin' foot in my hand. Now painting those little feet, obviously, speaking of, I'm going to literally put a red over the top of the pads that are on. I don't know why, I don't know. I don't even know what I was questioning there. Let's just move on. Brain had a little bit of a fart. Let's just carry on with what's going on here. I used the dark grey to paint the, I don't know what that part is, the sock, the toeless sock, toe and heelless sock. I don't know what's happening here. Either way, I painted that with grey, the straps with black, and then I sprayed Griff Charger grey into just areas. And when I say just areas, there was no rhyme or reason, mostly from the bottom of course, but I just sprayed it in areas, because what it does is it changes the surface color and it makes it look like I put shading. And in my opinion, if you don't know what you're doing or where to put shading, just spray it. As long as it's in an area, people will go, wow, look at your cool shading, even though it's wrong. Doesn't matter. Just move on with life. Just put the spray in and revel in the fact that you did cool. That's it. Now on the gloves part and the wrist guard parts, I used a slightly different grey because actually this was the grey that I was supposed to use for the feet, but when I picked it out I didn't actually click 2 and 2 when I picked it up and looked at the colour. I just looked at the colour, I didn't even look at the actual name, and I wanted a black grey instead of a green, whatever the other colour was that I had picked up. But either way, I figured out that I'd done it wrong and moved on and picked out the right colour eventually. And I'm going to do exactly the same with these hands, by the way. I'm going to put some rando shading over the top of them, and it's going to make it look like I put like so much attention into these bits. Yeah, this silver is just literally called silver. I just had to put that in there because you don't know what it's called anymore because the label has wiped off, which is very annoying, but it is the facts of life, and unfortunately that's just what we have to deal with. I painted those obviously on all the silver bits because that's what color you want to paint things that are silver, and then I proceeded to paint all the rest of that black grey over the rest of the glove on the hand. Now I can paint the straps with the black. This is just a plain matte black from Vallejo, and then taking that same silver and very carefully with a thin brush tip painting the buckles that hold these pads onto his arm strap things. Then, like I said, a little bit of Griff Charger, spray it like I know what I'm doing. It's anywhere. As long as it's not on the skin tones, that's it. Just spray it all over and try not to get it on the skin tones. That's my tip for that, and it just makes things magic. Now it is time to paint some nipples, some lovely nipples, which I just used Gilliman Flesh for. Of course, there wasn't too much fancy about those. Also, this dude has a tattoo on his arm, which has been eloquently sculpted by Tanuki Figures, which actually brings me to the sponsor of this video, which is Tanuki Figures. And I just want to mention that these dudes have got some of the most amazing models that you could ever imagine, and I'm going to leave a link. There is a link in the top now. There is a link in the description for them as well, and if you use the code GROUND you can get 50% off this particular model and any of the models that I've done in the past that you see on my channel. Now, of course, this is the end of the talking about Tanuki, but it's not the end of Tanuki, so go check them out and go and support them. Let them know that I sent you, and that's it. Moving on to the portrait of this dude, I'm gonna paint Gilliman Flesh. Yes, again, Gilliman Flesh on his lips. That's it. That's all done with the lips. Moving on, I'm going to paint his hair. And for his hair, I'm just going to take black and paint that over the entire head of hairs, because his hair is actually in fact black. So this makes sense, of course. Now I'm going to paint the eyebrows, which are very furry caterpillars on this dude's eyebrows. They are in fact quite big eyebrows, but I'm doing this in very small little brush strokes. This is to emulate the fact that there is hairs. I'm painting the center of them solid, but doing little brush strokes make it look like there is hairs, and that's it. I'll put some black inside of his eyes as well. This is to set them up for later. Usually for male figures I would put a dark brown there instead of black, but I figured I would try it out this time and see if it looks alright with a little bit of eyeliner. And it actually came out alright, so maybe I might do that in the future. I painted this clearer with highlight skin, and then I used Cygor Brown to set up the irises of the eyes, and then taking this old wood, I'm going to paint inside of the iris of the eyes. This is basically the way in which you paint eyeballs, and of course once I'm done with that light brown, I'm now going to put a black dot in the center of them for the pupils, and then a white specular highlight, one large one on the side and one small one next to that, so it's not fully on the side. And then I'm going to spray a little bit of blue into his hair, and realize whilst doing this I sprayed way too much blue into his hair, and so thus forth I'm going to take a little bit of black and get rid of some of that blue. This is how painting goes. You put some, you take away some. That is the magic of painted things. Obviously I put a gloss on his eyes, and then I put his forehead hair on, and then his head on top of him, and called this one done. Now, I don't really know how to say this, but if I tell you to click like on the video, click subscribe, and share the video with your gran, that's genuinely not even going to help the video reach more people at this point. So I feel like I've been lying to you throughout my entire YouTube career, and I don't really know what to do about this. So do whatever you want to do at this point, because it makes no difference what YouTube decides to do. You can like, share, comment, do whatever you want to do. YouTube will not share the video any further than it needs to, or it feels like it needs to go. So do with that information as you will. Yes, I feel a little bit stupid this video. It doesn't matter though. Go check out the sponsors. They are very cool, very nice, cool model, and of course I have Patreon as well. So if you really want to support the channel, I guess don't share, just go subscribe to my Patreon, because that helps me a lot to keep the lights on and blinding my eyeballs and continue to make free videos basically for people to learn how to paint models and use their 3D printers and things like that. So that's it from me. I'm done with this video. I will see you in the next video, which will be Thursday. This has been Groundeffected. My name in fact was your dad, and if you didn't like anything you saw in this video, then feel free to f*** off.